Yeah, I think. Please carry on.
So, can everyone hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to start by looking at the problem space that prompted this research. So basically, I've been thinking about the role of the accounting profession as regards sustainability and how the accounting profession sees its role in propagating sustainability concerns, and of course the SDGs being included in that. And one thing I found is that the accounting profession is believed to be based on the public interest. That is the idea that the accounting profession must serve the public interest above, other concerns. So if the accounting profession is based on the public interest, then it means that the accounting profession must use professional expertise in order to serve the society. As we know, sustainability is highly linked to the prosperity, the progression of the society. So hence, sustainability is linked to how we as accountants serve the society. And then our professional expertise as accountants comes from professional accounting education. So the basis of my research is looking at the integration points between professional accounting education as sort of an intervention to help achieve sustainability, and of course the sustainable development goals as well included in that. Now, as I've mentioned earlier, sustainability issues are fundamental to the public interest mandate of accounting because they have significant effect on the progression of the society. So everything the accounting profession is based on, sustainability issues are sort of the foundation for that, because the biosphere first, then the society and the economy. Without the biosphere or the society, the economies will crumble. So this is a depiction of sort of the interconnections there. Then for the accounting profession, we are looking at the ways that the expertise of accountants can be used to translate, to adapt, and to mediate sustainability issues. So in virtually most organizations, you find accountants. So accountants really have a role in helping to translate and adapt sustainability concerns so that we can better achieve the sustainable development goals that we have set. The process of integrating sustainability into professional accounting education has been compounded by issues such as the conflict between public interest and self-interest. So there's the belief that the profession is not actually serving the public interest or hasn't been doing that in the last decades, and it's more of self-interest and client interest. So there seems to be a tension between how the profession seeks to deal with this concern. The second thing is there's competition between professional accounting bodies, how they interact. In many countries, you have multiple accounting bodies. UK is an example. Nigeria is also another example that I know of, with multiple accounting bodies operating in the same environment. Of course, you have accounting scandals that have occurred in the last decades as well, and that have put the accounting profession in the limelight for unethical practices. Thirdly, you have the various views on the meaning of sustainability. One thing I found in literature and some of the things I've read is that sustainability can mean different things in different places, and the sort of sustainability issues that are addressed in different locations could take different approaches and different modes as well, because there are cultural issues that you have to consider with sustainability integration. Interestingly, that's part of the things that Kate was mentioning in her presentation, how to include all stakeholders in sustainability concerns so that you can work from the ground up. Number 4, again, different contextual settings for accounting. The role of accounting in each economy could differ, the role of education or the type of education that you have, and the sustainability concerns that the accounting profession is dealing with. For instance, accounting education differs between countries. Some countries have situations where the state is in charge of the accounting education process. You have countries who university degree is the most important component of the accounting education process. Sometimes you have where professional accounting bodies are the major implementers of professional accounting education. So knowing all these differences makes it such that the integration of sustainability into professional accounting education can take different approaches, and issues could arise because of the already complex nature of other challenges within the profession. For my project, I have 3 research questions. Firstly, how is sustainability integrated at various levels of professional accounting education? Secondly, looking at the role of actors in the integration of sustainability into professional accounting education. And thirdly, looking at how sustainability will further develop and be integrated, into professional accounting education. So looking at the first goal I have there, from my findings so far, there's evidence that sustainability is already being integrated into professional accounting education. You have initiatives such as the integrated reporting, GRI, Global Reporting Initiative, and then the climate change disclosure regulations that are coming into play. So in some sense, there's some level of integration already happening within professional accounting education. However, most of the research that have been carried out in this area has focused on looking at the integration process in university degrees rather than looking at what happens with professional examinations and also continued professional development and all the sorts. So that's why it's important to look at the other levels that have sort of been omitted in the literature. Secondly, what are the roles of actors in the integration of sustainability? So in considering how such integration occurs or takes place, there are actors. And later on during this presentation, I'll mention those actors. So those actors sort of influence what gets integrated, how they get integrated, what gets excluded. So some of them are enablers of the integration, while some of them could be sort of antagonistic towards integration or limit the sort of integration that occurs, just keep things within the status quo. Then thirdly is looking at what will happen in the coming years, because already, like I said, there are sustainability issues already being integrated into professional accounting education, but at this point, it may not be sufficient to achieve the goals that the world and even the accounting profession has in mind. So it's important to look at what ways can we further develop this integration. With regards to my literature review, I've looked at literature in accounting, talking about professionalization process of accounting, and looking at public interest motive, what it means. Interestingly, one of the difficult things about the literature is finding that public interest is value laden. So there's no one single definition of public interest. So you find that Gray and Collison 2002 is one of those propagating public interest to mean service to the society. Others would propagate public interest to serving the economic goals alone. So public interest could have value-laden implications and meanings. So that's one of the discoveries from that literature. Then with professional accounting education, I've examined the nature of accounting knowledge and how accounting knowledge has shifted from technical standards and things like that towards more sort of broader training about ethics and other things. And then the structure of professional accounting education in different countries could differ. Wilson 2011 explains how the progression from university degree links to professional exams and certification and links to continuing professional development. And obviously the criticisms of professional accounting education, one of them being the lack of proper ethical training for most accountants, and the profession has been struggling to sort of handle this. The other part of my literature looks at sustainability, discussing about the nature of sustainability within accounting, the nature of sustainable development. One of the foremost authors in this field is Bebington and Unaman 2018, where in that paper there are discussions about how the accounting profession including accounting academia, accounting practitioners, professional accounting bodies, can contribute more actively towards sustainable development. And in terms of nature of sustainability, there's a recognition in this literature that sustainability issues are complex, they're interconnected, they're interdisciplinary. So the nature of sort of the interventions that we need will mean that the accounting profession has to interact not only amongst itself, like I mentioned, the academia, the practitioners, professional accounting bodies, but also interact with other fields, other scientific fields, in order to address sustainability issues. The second part of the literature on sustainability considered education for sustainability, looking at the approaches such as instrumental versus emancipatory, propounded by what you have in Sterling and Huckle 2014, where they mentioned the fact that teaching sustainability could mean that we force people to sort of accept that sustainability is a goal that we should achieve, rather than helping them understand what this goal means and allowing them to sort of come to terms with their own understanding of it, rather than forcing a singular notion of sustainability. And another part of the literature, which is very critical to my work, is about sustainability competencies. So looking at the sort of research I'm working on, it's not just sustainability knowledge in the curriculum, it's also about what competencies could help address sustainability and how can we, through education, integrate these competencies. In Weeks et al.'s paper, you have discussions about systemic thinking sort of competencies, interpersonal competencies, anticipatory competencies that are needed to address sustainability issues. So it's not just the knowledge, it's the sort of the approach as well to sustainability problems. Again, this links back to the idea that the issues that we're addressing with sustainability are interconnected. Poverty is connected to hunger, it's connected to gender equality. So we need sort of a broader level competency to be able to address this issue. So with education coming in as an intervention, particularly in this case, professional accounting education, it's not just going to be the knowledge, it's to enable accountants to think in such broad terms that the implication of one action could affect other things. Now, this is just an illustration of the structure of professional accounting education. Earlier, I had mentioned that professional accounting education structure could differ by country. However, the current understanding or generic or simplistic representation is what we have here, provided in Wilson 2011's paper, talking about how you learn, how the accountant learns, from university education to professional training to professional practice and continuing professional development, and how the integration of this sort of stage system would lead to what he calls the effective accounting practitioner. Now, as I mentioned earlier, what you have with integration mostly has been looked at the university education stage, and not so much at professional training and professional practice and continuing professional development levels. So even though a lot of professional accounting bodies and other actors are already integrating sustainability issues in the last two levels, there's just not much research in understanding the process of that and what that means. So, yeah. The method by which I'm addressing my research questions follows through two empirical projects. The first is looking at the mapping of actors in professional accounting education. The second research question is looking at the role of actors. So this empirical project is linked to that second research question. So this is the current diagrammatic representation I have of the sort of how these actors influence professional accounting education. At the center, and those that have the most sort of direct influence, you have universities, you have professional accounting bodies, you have professional tuition providers, which is also a common feature because professional accounting bodies don't necessarily provide the teaching. So they're in charge, in some cases, the curriculum and the assessments for professional exams are handled by professional accounting bodies, but the tuition providers are in charge of the teaching. So that's why you have them also at the center. So they provide the direct influences as educators for professional accountants. Then the other sort of influences is what determines the action of those who are sort of the internal influencers. So you have actions from states involving changes in regulation. You have intergovernmental organization affecting global standards and norms. You have accreditation requirements that are propagated by accreditation institutions. You have international professional organizations that are changing professional guidelines. An example is IFAC, because IFAC has regulations concerning education, ethics, public sector accounting that sort of affect the member bodies. So the member bodies or the national professional accounting bodies take these regulations from IFAC and then incorporate it into the local system. You have Big Four accounting firms also involved in changing professional practice. You have organizations and businesses thinking about what they need, what the expectations are. So if the expectations of businesses change, it is likely that it will affect the training and teaching of professional accountants. They have other stakeholders exerting different forms of pressure, accounting academia, accounting students, NGOs possibly involved in that. Now, at the point where I did this mapping, I had to look at reports and websites of these actors and just to use that to frame my understanding and to frame this mapping. However, when I did this mapping, so some other information has come to my attention. For instance, in this mapping, accounting standard setters, particularly relating to sustainability, the Integrated Reporting Council is not included here, but now in the updated version that I'm currently working on, those other actors would be included. So this is just a table to show that with many of these actors and the influences, the influences can affect or are enacted by multiple actors. So for instance, even though global professional guidelines come from global professional guidelines come from international professional organizations such as IFAC, you have that the professional accounting bodies also have a say before those guidelines are introduced or they are implemented. Big Four firms have a say. So before these things become reality or become the law, you have interaction between actors on what happens, how it happens, and things like that. So this is just an illustration to show that with these influences, it can happen that there are multiple actors working on the same sort of influence. So this is what this table is sort of depicting. Then the possible theoretical framework that I'm looking to work with is institutional theory, because this theory provides us with a macro sociological understanding of organizations, how they operate, how they're structured, and a lot of previous studies on professions, even the accounting profession, have used institutional theory to explain some of the interactions between actors in the profession. So an example would be Sudabi and Vail 2011, Radcliffe et al. 2018. So for my study, institutional theory would be applied in the sense that professional accounting education isn't institutional field that I'm trying to study. I'm looking at the role of actors in defining and changing the field, and sustainability as a driver for changing the field, as the motivation for these actors to want to change professional accounting education in this instance. The second part of the Empirical project is meant to develop further insights. So basically the mapping is sort of an overview level project. So I'm looking to do a comparative case study to get in-depth insights of country level interactions with the actors, country level interactions with sustainability, and how that trickles down into professional accounting education. So I've chosen the UK and Nigeria as the cases that I'll be looking at. And with identifying these cases, I'm trying to look at contrasting instances of how sustainability is integrated into professional accounting education. There are similarities between the UK and Nigeria, and there are also differences that distinguish them. For instance, the similarities would be professional structure. So with the UK and Nigeria professional bodies, you have similar professional structure. So you finish with your degree, most likely, and then you take the professional exam. That's how you become a professional accountant. They also have, the two countries also have multiple professional bodies. In the UK, there are over 6 professional accounting bodies. In Nigeria, there are currently just 2 professional accounting bodies. These bodies also have significant freedom from state control. So the state allows the professional bodies to exert regulations over their members. They have similar entry requirements. Like I said, you finish your degree and then you write the professional exams. Although there are several entry routes being included these days, but that is the usual format. Then these professional bodies in both countries have alliances with universities through accreditation agreements and, you know, exemptions that they grant to students who are graduating from certain universities based on the alliances that have been formed. Then in terms of differences, the level of economic development in UK and Nigeria is significantly different. Some will consider Nigeria to be a developing country, one of the fastest ones in the world. The national educational policy is also different. The geographical region and the sustainability challenges faced in the regions are different. The cultural orientation is also different. So even though you have similarities within the sort of professional system, the differences that I've mentioned could also impact what happens with integration. So it'll be interesting to see how these cases play out when I start my fieldwork. In terms of methods, I'll be collecting data through semi-structured interviews with key informants from the profession. So when I say the profession, it means a wide array of participants, not just those working with professional accounting bodies. So professional bodies, accounting practitioners, accounting standard setters, and also more importantly, accounting academia would be part of the participants I'll be interviewing. Then again, I'll be undertaking document analysis, looking at curriculum, looking at meetings or processes that have been to change the accounting curriculum, how that went, and things like that, which actors were involved in those changes. Because one of the things I've also noticed about changes in accounting education is that it has happened over time. So sustainability is not the only driver for change, but over time you find that the accounting education system is trying to adapt itself to the environment, to the latest trends. So things like, aside sustainability, another very important cause for change in professional accounting education has been technology. There's been discussion about artificial intelligence, what it means for accounting, cryptocurrency, what it means for accounting education, the accounting profession, and things like that. So again, it's important to look at documents on how they decide what should change, how should those changes be implemented, and things like that. So I'm looking forward to doing that in the coming months.
So thank you, Bisola, for your presentation. So can you give a little bit more?
Thank you.
Yeah, can you give a little bit more information exactly what do you mean by integration and in sustainability agenda, in integrating sustainability agenda in accounting, and how what is your expectation to find out and what is not there? Can you a little bit more clarity on that? Can you give me?
Okay. What I mean by integration is to look at what elements of sustainability can now be found within account, that can now be actively found or identified within professional accounting education. So I think that's my understanding of integration. But integration again is sort of a broad word, and in my current state, I'm trying to sort of reduce the coverage of that word. So what I would be considering to be integration in professional accounting education would be, can we find sustainability issues being addressed in the accounting curriculum? Okay. Can we find it in the assessments? Can we find it in sort of the seminars and conferences involving, continuing professional development? of accountants? Can we find it there? Does it have sustainability even a concern when we think about how we teach accountants? So is how what we teach them in terms of content, how we teach them, and how we assess them. So that is what that integration would mean. And what are we integrating?